Hey guys, so I'm back today with a book review, and the book that I'm going to be reviewing today is going to be Wither by DeStefano. It's about a girl named Ryan, and she is abducted and sold as a bride to a house governor. An interesting thing that I liked about this book that definitely grasped my attention when I was reading the synopsis at the store was that the women die at the age of 20 and then the men die at the age of 25. That was just like, well, why do they die at that age and what's going on and what's wrong? It like bombarded me with 20 different questions about what's going on and how is this happening, and I want to know. So that's definitely one of the reasons why I picked up this book. And according to the story, it says that researchers came up with a cure to cancer, and it's basically supposed to help the population have a healthier, better, longer life, which essentially that's exactly what it does. But little do they know that their offspring are going to be the ones to pay the price for this cure because they're dying at such an early age. They're dying in their early 20s. So now everyone is panicking and trying to find a cure for that, an antidote for that. You've got these two different groups of people who want to find a cure and then the people who don't. It's a mess. The world is a mess. So our main character, Ryan, her parents were scientists at a research lab. So the group of people that didn't want the cure, they essentially bombarded that research lab and completely wiped out all the people that were working there, including our main character's parents. So her parents died, and her twin brother were left as orphans and left to fend for themselves. So our story is narrated by our main character. We're basically just getting insight as to what her new life is about and who she shares it with and what it is to live in this gorgeous mansion and living with these different types of people, and you know what her new life is about in comparison to her old life. So now for our characters. Our main character is Ryan, and she is 16 years old, and according to the story, she is this blonde, beautiful young girl with two different colored eyes, which for some reason everyone seems to be very surprised about these different colored eyes. Our next character would be her twin brother. We don't get too much information on Ryan's twin brother. All we know is that he is a very overprotective person and he won't let her go anywhere without him. So moving on to her new life and the new people that she's living with in this mansion is her husband named Lyndon. He's a very genuine and sweet and caring guy. I mean, he doesn't really know too much about his wife. Granted, they've only known each other for a couple of days before they get married, but he seems like a really nice guy and he genuinely cares about her and has her best interests at heart. So moving on to Ryan's sister wives, we meet Jenna, who is the oldest, 19 years old, and Cecily, who is the youngest, who is 14. Jenna, we get the feeling that she's very resentful as to what happened. And you'll find out why she's so resentful towards the people in this house and her husband. But she's very quiet. She keeps to herself. She doesn't talk to very many people. She's always in the library reading books. I think the only person who she genuinely has a relationship with is Ryan. So the next sister is Cecily, who is the youngest, 14 years old, and she comes off as this spoiled brat in the story. She's very mean to the servers in the house and she's very obnoxious after a while, but I guess that's kind of because she's so young. She is the youngest, so she doesn't know any better. She's never been in a situation like this where she has any and everything she could have ever wanted, coming from an orphanage and having, you know, all these things available to her and living in a mansion. I guess that would kind of make you a spoiled brat, but she just comes off as being very obnoxious and, you know, very needy, especially to her husband. But, I mean, she's a very good musician. She plays the piano very well. And she has a pretty good relationship with both of her sisters and a very good relationship with her husband. So our next character is Housemaster Vaughn. He is this old scientist. He's one of the people that's looking for an antidote, and he is desperately searching for this antidote. He spends maybe 90% of his time in his lab located in the basement, and he is just constantly working to find a cure because he doesn't want his son to die. The majority of the characters in the story, they kind of don't trust him. They kind of steer clear from him because they just get a bad vibe from him. And I kind of got that same vibe when I was reading the story. There was just something ominous about him that just I didn't know exactly what it was, but I just kind of knew, you know, this is the person that you just kind of want to watch out for because you can't really trust him. So our next character is Rose, and she is actually Lyndon's first wife. And when the new girls get brought into the mansion, she's actually still alive, but you might as well say that she's dead because she's dying. They grew up together, their families knew each other, and they always had a really close relationship with each other. And, you know, they grew up, they got married, but she's basically very, very, very sick. None of the medication that they're giving her for this virus, this disease, is working. So it gets to the point where she just doesn't want to take any more medication because ultimately she knows that she's gonna die. And nothing that they do or say is gonna change that. In the story, we can definitely see that Lyndon cares a great deal for Rose, and he's constantly at her side, constantly worrying about her. He loves her. He genuinely cares about her, and he's very concerned that, you know, her days they're numbered. So our next character, who you will get to know and love, is Gabriel, and he is one of the house servants within the mansion. He's actually Ryan's only friend, I guess you could say. He's the only person that she feels comfortable having conversations with and talking to and just being herself around. And they develop this very interesting friendship, if you want to go ahead and call it that. But I'll spare you the details. You guys can figure that out for yourselves if you read this story. My thoughts on this book was that it was very creative, it was very different. I liked the fact that there was this virus that was killing the population at a very young age. I wanted to know why, and I wanted to know how and what, and it just kept me wanting more, so I definitely liked that. Also, what I didn't like was that you didn't get too much background information on the characters, and that might just be me. I like to get a lot of detail as far as my characters are concerned. I want to get to know them and feel like I can relate to them. And in this book, I kind of felt like I didn't know too much about them. I knew the bare minimum. So that's definitely something that I didn't like. Also, a little bit more dialogue between the characters couldn't hurt either. Overall, I definitely like this book and I would recommend it. I would give it a 4 out of 5 star rating. And that sums up my book review for Wither by DeStefano.